There are some tips and tricks that will help you learn to paint with less effort and less stress. Let me tell you a few of the ones that helped me. There's a learning curve to learning to paint. You might think you're older, but I didn't start painting till I was over 50. And there's always things you learn along the way that you'll get better and better. But I have a few tips you could learn right off the bat that'll help you in the long run. So let's talk about them. My first tip is use good materials. So starting with paint, pick a good quality paint. It doesn't have to be the most expensive paint in the world. The good quality paints will give you better results and the colors will last longer. I would stay away from the beginner set. This is an example of a beginner set. I have nothing against Winsor Newton. In fact, I use their white, their titanium white, because I really like the texture of it. But when these beginner sets that have all these different colors, you're going to have a bunch of colors here that you really don't use, and you shouldn't force yourself to use a color that you don't want to use. So let's talk about the paint that I use. I use mostly Gamblin. I use the Winsor & Newton Titanium White. I usually have 3 yellows on my palette. One is the Cad Yellow Light or Cad Lemon, either one. The other is Cad Yellow Medium. And then the third one is Yellow Ochre. And I don't usually have green on my palette because I like to mix my own greens. And that is with ultramarine blue, ultramarine blue and cobalt blue. Now the Cad Yellow Light is a cool color, and the Cad Yellow Ochre and the Cad Yellow Medium are warm colors. And the ultramarine blue is a cool color, and the cobalt blue is a warm blue. Next is the Cad Yellow Medium, which is a warm color, and then alizarin crimson permanent, which is a cool color. And I have 2 regular visitors to my palette, depending on what I'm painting. Phthalo blue, which is great to add a little punch to the sky or water. Transparent red oxide I use for the base painting, the block in, and the outline. So those are the basic supplies, paint-wise. And then for odorless mineral spirit, I use the Gamsol. It works great, and you don't have to smell it. For a medium, I use the M-gram walnut oil. There are many substrates you can use, and by that I mean panels, canvases. This is it's like an ampersand panel. It's what they call a cradled panel, so it makes it real stiff. They're a little harder to frame, and they're a little bit more expensive. And they're so slick you have to gesso it before you can use it. You can get canvas panels pretty cheap if they're smaller at Michael's or any kind of paint supply store. They're a little harder to work with in that they move. And the light shows through it if you're painting outside. So I think for me, panels are easier to use, and that's what I use. You can make your own too. That's a real good way to do it, but it takes a lot more work for sure. Another tip is try to have a dedicated space that you can paint where you can leave your stuff set up and you could just jump in at any moment. If you have to get it out every single time, it's going to be a labor to start painting. When I first started painting, I had it in a bedroom in the house, and then of course the family complained about smell because paint does have a smell to it. I moved out into the garage where I proceeded to kind of trash the garage floor because I'm a very messy painter. And since then, I've gotten myself a little studio in the backyard that we built out of a tough shed, and it's great. So it's good to somehow or another fix your own painting space. So I do recommend the rosemary brushes. That's what I use. They're probably a little bit more expensive, but maybe not. If you go to Michael's, you could spend $13 to $15 on a brush. I got this set for Christmas. It's the Kathy Dunphy set. It's really nice. These are long handled brushes. They're flats, long flats, bristle pointed rounds. And I also got this rigger. This is a good one for fine details and signing. These rosemary brushes, they're in Britain and you can order them online. And then here's another smaller pointed round. Anyway, very good quality brushes. I do recommend them. So my major tips for starting painting are: start simple. Consider all of your paintings studies. That means they're not permanent. You don't have to sell them in the Louvre. They're just helping you learn how to paint. 2 ways to start that are really good, that are very helpful, are start with a still life. Pull some fruit out of the fridge and work on painting shadows and light. And the second one would be, if you like landscapes, and that's where I started, start with photographs. Take a good photograph of a place that you really love. And that's my other recommendation. Always paint something that is really attractive to you. But start with a photograph of something you love and just enjoy, have fun. That's what it's all about. Start with very thin paint. Now me, when I started painting, I really just wanted a big, thick swaths of paint all over the place. And I did start that way, and it was a big problem because you can't paint over that. It takes so long to dry. And you're going to always paint in layers. So first block in just the general colors of the areas that you're painting. And then I've already somewhat mentioned it, is you want to use a limited palette. You want to get 1 to 2 blues, 1 to 2 reds, 1 to 2, maybe 3 yellows, and your white. You can mix any combination of colors from those paints. So stick to that and it'll make things easy for you. So that's just a few tips for you if you're just starting out painting. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Happy painting!